Hello. Welcome back to another video. I'm Ketan. I call myself that day-to-day guy. And today is just a bit of a life update slash put my thoughts out there as to kind of what's wrong with the world, if you will. So life update, there's not much to report other than we seem to be picking up some pace on the work front, which is good because, we do need it. This year has been a bit quieter than previous years, but October and November is getting to the busier period of the year. Regardless of whether the year is quiet or not, we normally have the busiest months in October and November. If you're watching this for any particular topic, it's probably not the video to watch, but as I said, kind of life update and what's wrong with the world. Probably more what's wrong with the world, but let's talk about. I put a post out the other day, obviously a bit tongue in cheek, on Facebook about how the pedophiles, the jobless, and wife beaters will be out in London because of these Tommy Robinson organised protests. And let's get one thing straight. I am all for controlled immigration. And I do believe, obviously, people are coming in and certain people are criminals or whatever. But by no means any more percentage than in any other demographic. Yeah, every demographic has got a percentage of dickheads, basically. Let's face it. Even our own. And I say our own as in like British people, but that's another point. Anytime I get into any of these kind of debates, people are very quick to tell me that I'm not British. And that is quite frustrating, frankly, because some of these people, I've been living in this country longer than they have. I'm born here. I pay taxes here. And I don't mean this in a bragging way, but I probably pay more than the national average salary in tax. So other than being brown, I am as British as they get. So it's always frustrating. And in a scenario like that, a lot of these immigration issues are stemmed around racism. Doesn't mean because you want controlled immigration, you're racist. That's not what I'm saying. And that's not whatever I intend to imply. Because I want controlled immigration. Funnily enough, my mum and dad were talking about immigrants the other day. And the irony is that they were immigrants, right? They came from India, and dad came from Kenya, and they were immigrants. They came here like literally with nothing, in a country where they don't speak the language, and they, I use the term got ahead, but what I mean by got ahead is they got here, they had jobs, and they got on the property ladder and retired and whatnot, and they paid into the system, blah, 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 raised 2 kids. The problem I have is when your want for controlled immigration also aligns with one of the most known antagonizers and one of the figures who has arguably the most racist followers. So aligning yourself with something that they've organized, for me, there's other ways to love your country and want, controlled immigration and whatnot. But driving a wedge between, white British people and everybody else is not the way to go about it. Because that leaves people like me in a situation where you have, frankly, dumb people who make comments and say that I don't belong here and I'm racist. And I'm racist, I'm not British. So that leaves us in quite a predicament, because like last year, it's almost a year ago now, somebody in the Tesco car park called me last time I bleeped this out, didn't I? But, a fucking Asian, the pat, that, you can guess what that is, and then You can guess what that is. I mean, like, all three were, well, fucking Asian. That part I get and I take credit for. The other two, I'm not Pakistani and nor am I black. So, yeah, the level of intelligence of some of these people is just incredible. But if you believe that a minority, I always say this, it's always, like I said in the beginning of the video, it's always a minority of people. I used to believe years ago, I say years ago like it sounds like ages ago, but not that long ago, maybe like 12, 13, 14, 15 years ago. Certainly around about when I started our business 14 years ago, I was living at home with my parents, living in the same room that I was brought up in, and somebody said, "Why didn't you get a council house?" I was like, no, I'm not going to get a council house, council house for losers, blah, blah, blah. My parents just had kind of ingrained such a notion that, we work for money. And I used to have a very dim view of anyone that used to get help from the council. And then what increased that, I use the word hatred, but increased that thought in my mind was all the TV programs coming out about council benefits and, but I later realized that those programs, as I got older, anything that the media throws at us is always about the minority of people. And it's always about the minority of people, and the agenda there is to make us think that these people are the majority of people. So the majority of people who are on benefits are just, regular folk that don't want to be there, and it's just a stepping stone. For some people, it becomes a lifestyle, and that's fine. But those people are a minority. Those people aren't going to really affect the masses. And criminals are the same way. Just like you got British paedophiles. Just because Jimmy Savile's a pedo doesn't mean every white British person is a pedo. But when it comes to immigration, though all that logic goes out the window, we just say, they're all criminals, they're all this, they're all that. So let's start a bloody protest. I mean, and also the notion that they're living in 5-star hotels and ordering room service in their bathrobes at the spa, like, they're not, And I feel like it's so stupid even having to put this forward and say this, because it's so glaringly obvious. But again, the stuff we get told by certain political parties and certain political figures is always to get you riled up and to distract you from what's really, really going on. And if you're the kind of small-minded person that always thinks about what other people have and what other people don't have in comparison to you, you're actually never going to get ahead in life. You'll notice the people that get ahead in life are the people who stay in their lane. They focus on what they can do. I don't focus on what the economy can do for me. I don't focus on what the government can do for me. I focus on what I can do for me. Obviously, there's things like, council tax going up and blah, 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 and that's just a part of life. That's fine. I can't control that. I can't have an influence on that. What I can have influence on is what I do and how I live my life and what I do to go out there and make my life better. And we do live in a bit of a bubble. Like I live here. I live in Windsor, and I live in an area where and it's another thing as well. The perception of Windsor, again, the minority thing. You say everyone's Windsor's posh, Windsor's this, but a very small percentage of people in Windsor are actually like super wealthy. The rest of us are just normal people. So it's what I mean by the bubble is that it's not like I walk along the street and there's like immigrants everywhere. I don't know where it's like that. And I don't mean to sound ignorant there, but I've never come across a place that is like that. But yeah, I don't know, man. The hate is just too much for me. I can be a bit of a C word sometimes and dislike certain demographics of people, and then I'll think about it. And that the time that I dislike these people is such a short space now. When I was younger, I'd hold a grudge for ages and hold this in my head, and now I always think to myself, why if I am having these feelings, why am I having these feelings? What is it about them that I don't like? And then I think to myself, what is it about that really affects my life? And it's always it's always pretty much nothing. Like, it's such a temporary thing. And to carry this hate in your mind, in your head, you're gonna restrict yourself in being able to, let's use the word efficient, and move forward. So, yeah. Do I think all white British people are pedophiles? No. Do I think all white British people are benefits fraudsters? No. Do I think all white British people are wife beaters? No. And again, I said this before in previous videos, you know, I look with my eyes and I look around with my own eyes and I think to myself, okay, you know, what are the people around me like? You know, there's a thing about, oh, women are gold diggers, blah, blah, blah. And I actually don't personally, like, properly know any of them. But I realize that this is sometimes it's just a joke. It's just a stereotype, you know, oh, Indian people are like this and white people are like this and black people are like that. Chinese people are like this. They're just stereotypes, and as long as you've been playful with it, fine. But if it started to put hatred in your mind, that's when there's something wrong. Man, my voice went funny there. It is 6 a.m, so probably why I'm a bit croaky. So yeah, that's pretty much that. If you're finding yourself hating a certain demographic of people, A, don't, and B, ask yourself why. And ask yourself, and this is another thing, to ask yourself, if I was doing better and I'd made my own better decisions, would this bother me so much? It's really harsh. Sometimes the stuff I say is quite harsh, but you know what? It needs to be said. I sometimes think to myself, well, you know, I don't like these people, I don't like that people, but if I'd made better decisions about my own life, would I have time to even hate on these other people? Probably not. So, yeah. This video is not going to necessarily change anyone's viewpoints, because if you're firm about this stuff, that's your deal, that's your fine, that's your right to think the way that you do, and it's cool, you know. The country is a democracy, like that's just a right that we're allowed to have certain thoughts. But I always ask you, you know, go deeper and deeper and deeper and think, why do you have these certain thoughts? Why do you not like a certain group? Why do you not like a certain group of people? And as I was saying just a few minutes ago, like I look around in my own community and I think to myself, oh, okay, you know, are Muslims really like this? None that I know. I've never known someone to bomb anything. Are Indians all like this? You know, are Indians all doctors? No. If you go to Indian houses, do all Indian houses stink of curry? No. You know, are all white people pedophiles? Are all white people benefits fraudsters? No. Like, it's just every single thing you think of like that. Are all women gold diggers? No. Like, it's just, but there's so much stuff out there on YouTube and the media and so on, designed to make you think that the minority is the majority. So if you take one thing away from this video, anything, any agenda, anything that you see that's telling you that a demographic is all a certain way, I can categorically say, no, they're not. So I'll leave you with that thought. And I have bought a new car. I bought a 1999 SL320, which I've been doing some work on. If you follow me on Instagram, you've seen. And over the coming weeks, I will do a video on that, subject to weather. Because obviously, yesterday I was actually going to do a video yesterday, and I thought this is more important. Yeah, that will, you know, be out in the next few weeks. I'll share that. Yeah, I don't know what the rest of the year has in store, but I'm committed to doing a video every week. And if you've got this far, then thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Ciao for now.